Yo, what's happening, all you badass mofos out there in the Black Army Radio realm? Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to the movement. We're so glad you locked in for today's episode. Real quick, if it's ever made you think or laugh or feel some kind of way, do us solid and hit that 5-star rating right now. It takes a few seconds. It means everything to us, helps us out a lot, believe it or not. Follow the show, send it to a friend, an episode that you think is good. I think we've gotten some good feedback on these last few episodes, especially the last one. And yeah, now that we got that sucker done, how we doing, Joel? What's happening today, buddy?
Oh, doing good. Early Saturday morning. It was a long week. Ready to get the podcast done and go do some fucking yard work. So
Yard
most of
work.
my day looks like yard work.
Dude, that was me yesterday, man. We had to do a bunch of. I just got finished with our chicken run, bunny run thing in the backyard, and yeah, goddamn, wood's getting expensive. Shit. What's getting
Yeah.
expensive, bro? Fuck, I was gonna like
Mm.
build my own chicken coop, because I just like doing that shit. I don't like buying that stuff. If I can help it, I'd like
Right.
rather just build it. It's fun. Do it with the kids even. And I'm like, bro, I can't. It's like it's so much more expensive to buy the wood to build a chicken coop than to go to like Murdoch's and just
And
buy
actually
one
just
for
buy,
like
yeah.
$200, $300, dude. It's crazy, man. Holy shit. Yeah.
Nope.
So
It's not cheap for anything. I mean, it's interesting. I wonder how builders feel right now. I know a lot of builders have slowed down and they don't have a lot of jobs, lined up for the next one,
yeah,
so it'd be
you kind of get past that
interesting.
point, right? There's a line there, right? You can kind of, especially in some of these resort towns, you can charge kind of exorbitant prices and maybe make a
Yeah,
little bit of money, but you need to make a little bit of money to fucking make a living there because the cost of living's so damn high. So it's like you kind of
right.
have to. But then you pass that threshold where people, like even people that make a lot of money, are like, yeah, we might wait on this construction project a minute and,
Yep.
and wait for
Well,
things to calm down a little bit.
and that was one of the good things that came out of COVID is like there was trades and stuff that started raising what they would charge to go work in somebody's house because they were undervalued, so they were able to
Yeah.
raise their rates a little bit and stuff. But then the economy never caught up, and I think I mean, I'm in the trade, so obviously like I get it, but I work with 90% of the clientele I work with, there's rooms in their house that are bigger than my house. I'm talking $24 million homes. The home I was in last week was on Zillow in Aspen. It's for $30 million.
Yeah,
So
dude. This is like some straight Dumb and Dumber kind of shit. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
it's
Like, it's
cr-
no joke.
crazy, crazy
These
money.
Dude, Colorado resort towns, homie, it's fucking intense.
Uh,
It's intense in a
it's
lot of ways,
yeah.
dude. So what are we gonna get into today? We're gonna do our regular gasoline, diesel, Brett crude breakdown. We're gonna do some real quick bullet points on the news, just kinda have to. Um, so there's so many people that are like, get mixed up, like, "We need make sure you keep some of that news stuff in there." Other people are like, "I'm so sick of the news. I don't wanna ever hear about the news again." You know?
Right.
It's kinda like, well,
It's funny.
we'll split the middle a little bit. And then I have some really interesting statistics on like how much the oil market makes domestically and internationally and like how formidable it is, which is interesting. And then we're going to talk about another dude that I don't think we did. His name is Nuno Filipe Gomes Loureiro. He dead. He dead. Um Super smart dude, unfortunately, dead. And then we're going to get into some of the history from Project Sign, AATIP, David Grush's stuff, some stuff into the Wright Patterson history, Roswell's history, some pretty detailed stuff here a little bit and wildly interesting, especially after yesterday's UFO disclosure drop thing that we just got. And actually, it wasn't as much of a dud as I was kind of thinking it was going to be, homie. It was like there's
Right.
some stuff in there, especially the most compelling stuff for me was the stuff that was released by NASA. There was a lot of these astronauts up there. And I mean, dude, these astronauts, so when we're talking about these physicists and shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like these astronauts have backgrounds comparable in their field. to be like,
Right.
if you make it to astronaut as a pilot, you're in the top half of that half percent, you know what I mean, of pilots ever in the history of pilots to be able to make that
Right.
jump. It's a highly selective process. It's crazy. And so if you got a guy or a gal that's, you know, from the 50s and on up that dude, these reports are wild. Like some of these documents, you can read it. There's some that has audio where they're basically like, there's one's pretty funny. This guy's like, we got a bogey like in front of us and to the side of us, and another one to the side of us and to the other side. And then Houston comes back and it's like, do you think those are what are those packs that they jettison as soon as the
Oh,
rocket?
yeah, the
I forget what they're
oh,
called. But they jettison their propulsion packs or whatever when they get kind of
okay.
to a certain atmospheric position, right? And, Houston comes back and they're like, don't you think that's the jettison, rocket packs or whatever?" And this guy's
The
basically like,
the
"Nope.
boosters, I
Yeah,
think.
boosters." And the guy's like, "No, that's not what the," and I'm thinking to myself in my head, I'm like, "This guy's an astronaut. He's not
Yeah.
retarded." Like, I'm pretty sure he understands what the fucking jettison booster pack looks like. He's not seeing that shit. And so Houston's like, okay." And, he's like, "So, not part of the aircraft? That's weird." And then there was another one where they released like a 25 mile oh, no, it was like a 12-mile long tether thing that got into the
Right.
atmosphere, and it was just surrounded by, like, hundreds of orbs. Just it was like a fucking ant farm of
Right.
orbs around this tether. Some of this stuff on the moon, dude, there's some video photography and video stuff on the moon that there's weird stuff up there. Dude, they just found a this is real. I read this yesterday. Apparently, there's a cave system on the moon that the entrance of the cave is 100 miles or not 100 miles, it's 100 meters by basically 100 meters. It's almost perfectly circular. And it's kinda like if you look at the moon, because obviously we can't see the dark side of the moon, right? So it's the same part of the moon that we see every single time we fucking look up at it. And this light
Right.
apparently emits from almost the center and like a little bit low into the right of the moon. And this cave network, so it's 100 meters by 100 meters and it goes down like 12 miles or something into
Mm.
the moon. And they had a radar image, like a satellite that passed through and was able to detect how deep it was and symmetrical it was and get some pictures of it and stuff. And then there's these astronauts talking about going to the moon. And on their way up there, they're seeing light emitting from that exact same spot.
Yeah,
This is in the
the
50s,
up
the 1950s.
yeah, Apollo 11, they were talking about it, where they saw, like, a green light emitting from it, which is pretty wild.
Dude, the circular I mean, this is just to the human eye as I'm looking at pictures, so I could be totally dicked up on this, but it's really symmetrical. Like, it's
Right.
really and it's almost like there's people trying to speculate, was it a lava tube, from fucking however long ago? But, I mean, it doesn't have a cone, it's flat. It's totally flat on the surface, it's not on the top, and the symmetrical part of it is just almost too perfect. You look at volcanoes on Earth and it's like they're not even close to being that symmetrical, and once they pop, the entire side of the mountain goes. So there's no symmetry
Right.
at all to that stuff.
You
Anyway,
get some of those weird sinkholes in, like, Siberia, or I don't even know if they're sinkholes, they're speculative of what they're from. Some people think they're from, big pockets of gas essentially popping out, but they're not big crater form, like, build up on the edges, they're just, like, big fucking holes. I
yeah,
forget what they're called,
pretty
but
cool, dude.
there's some.
Yeah, but then some of the other stuff, like just cool videos. There's that star thing that really mimics that thing from the Dead Sea Scrolls. I mean, the Ophanum, which is like
Right.
this God, I don't know, 7 or 8-sided star with a couple circles, like wheels in the middle of it, and there's ancient representations of this thing that looks really, really similar to that thing, and dude, this one released, it is like a perfect star flying around with all kinds of points, circles in the middle of it. I
Yeah,
mean, this thing
Pentagon
is
releases that happened in 2013. The Pentagon just released a video of it
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, the document
It
released thing.
happened in the Middle East in 2013. It was recorded by infrared sensor on the US military platforms, distinct glowing star-like shape with 8 arms of varying length, often referred to a chandelier shape from like that's what people call it. It's like a chandelier shape, but it's
Mhm.
symmetrical as so the sides are all it's not equal sides, but it's symmetrical. If just look at
Yeah.
like a star that
It's
would
a
go on top of a
circular.
Christmas tree
Yeah,
almost. Like
yeah,
that's what you would see.
and it has all the
Um,
dimensions, you know what I mean? From the video, you can
right.
kinda only see, like, a one-dimensional view of it, but there's pictures of it in different places. The pictures are wild, man. I mean, like, you could really see the biblical connections. This
S-
these things have been around for thousands of years, which why wouldn't they have been? You know, we're obviously seeing
So
this stuff.
here's
This document being released right now. It's open source, you know?
right. It's the "oh famine" theory. Some online observers, particularly on social media, have jokingly or seriously suggested the shape resembles the "oh famina" or wheels within wheels described in biblical angelology.
Ezekiel
Art of
and the Book of Enoch. Ezekiel
yeah,
Ezekiel and the Book of Enoch specifically, even though the Book of Enoch was not in the canon for the Council of Nicaea, which is ridiculous. For everybody out there, Enoch was Noah's grandfather.
right,
The Book of Enoch is wild. It's really cool. It was intentionally omitted from the Bible because it kind of has a lot more stuff from the flood, honestly, in it. A lot of
right.
stuff from the flood, a lot of stuff from like the Nephilim and the fallen angels and different things like that. I think in a lot of ways it kind of scared some of the really, really, after Jesus Christians after 200 or 300 years, like Council of Nicaea and stuff, when they're trying to figure out what they wanted to keep and omit. But the fact that they omitted the Book of Enoch today, it probably wasn't telling back then because people just didn't know and they weren't literate and they couldn't, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like who the fuck read
and
that?
I also
But
think didn't the Book of Enoch come from Ethiopia?
yeah, well, it is in the Ethiopian Bible.
Right.
So the Ethiopian Bible is the most extensive collection of books that there is. Like for example, I don't read any other Bible but the Ethiopian Bible. That's so when I do like source work with biblical stuff, I use the Ethiopian Bible because it's got so many more books that are
And
included.
wasn't as far as it being written to it, it was one of the most isolated sects of Christianity as far as, like, it
It's like
wasn't
the
imposed by
yeah.
other religions, they were stuck by themselves for a long time, like,
Mhm.
doing this.
And
So
Ethiopia is actually a very beautiful, like, there's been speculation of like Garden of Eden kind of stuff there in
right,
Ethiopia that it goes back a long, long ways. It pretty much, and this like of most of the Middle East. So, like for American Christians, dude, we're so isolated. Like the more research you do internationally in investigative, just worldly shit outside of like our 200-year-old empire, right? I mean, like, come on,
right.
almost zero history within our empire, and our our supposed freedom of speech shit from our journalists that they do not execute at all.
And I wonder if any of that has to do with Ethiopia not being, like, a white culture and, Christianity, especially,
You get that, but
at
like we're gonna find out even with the UFO and UAP disclosure stuff, like France, Brazil. I got stuff for the next episode that talks about a lot of these countries that aren't the United States that have
right,
like disclosed already. And we just don't even know about it because it's kind of hidden from us on purpose. It's just like what's going on with our bases in the UAE, right?
right,
It's like they're not being honest about that stuff. They're not being honest
right,
about the war at all, really. And so it's like they haven't been honest about anything. It's like we were talking about with the UAP stuff. They used to have UFOs and newspapers in the 30s, 40s, and 50s all the fucking time with people like all kinds of reports and sightings, and they put them in, and then it got right after Roswell, it all got suppressed, all of it,
right.
intentionally, and then they just stopped reporting on that stuff. But Ethiopia is super cool, man. I mean, I haven't been there, but a lot of pictures, and actually, my wife's sister has adopted 2 kids from Ethiopia. It's a really that place has got some wild. There are supposedly the Ark of the Covenant is in
Right.
Ethiopia. There's a lot of speculation on that, and they have like a guard order that, and this is for sure. There is some kind of guard order thing that has possession of something that they guard with their lives, and these guards die all the time. I guess they don't last very long, and there's speculation that there's like radiation stemming from whatever this object is that they're guarding. So Graham Hancock did a big thing on it. There's some other people that have done stuff on it. I mean, who knows? But there is stuff coming out on that and that's within Ethiopia. I think there's a documentary, Graham Hancock, or he's involved in some kind of documentary or something on that investigation right now. And listen, this is like the conspiracy theorist thing with the alternate history people. Remember how full of shit the alternate history people were 5 years ago, 10 years
Yeah.
ago? Dude, they would label Graham Hancock as a Nazi. The guy's married to a black gal, foreign black gal with mixed race kids, has never said a racial into it for about anything in his entire
And
life, you know?
when he goes and talks to these cultures who are still left over, like, on his series on Netflix, like, he goes and talks to some of the Native Americans who are in the White Plains area, and, like, he's
Mhm.
always real quick to, like, give the indigenous people of that region, like, their respect and,
That's where
like,
he does
he's
all of his
yeah,
work. He does all of his work with
yeah,
indigenous people. That's all he does. He travels around to different cultures and investigates truly ancient mythology. That's
yeah,
really what it is. And what we're finding, the more information we're getting is that this truly ancient mythology is actually recorded history that's been passed down by the word of mouth for thousands and thousands. It's a
right,
memory. We have ingrained, deeply ingrained human memories of catastrophic events that have been passed down for thousands of years before they're ever written down. I mean, we have documented catastrophic civilization ending events where humanity was dropped to tens of thousands of people, maybe even that many
right,
globally. And it's like, you don't think you'd have 1,000 years of darkness memory living underneath the earth, like in Darren Kuyu in Turkey?
right.
Darren Kuyu in Turkey is crazy, man. Like, how could you have like 30,000 people? No shit. Like 20,000 people, whatever it is for Darren, it's a lot that can self-sustain and survive
Well,
underground. Ventilation systems,
for
water systems, and it's like, well, why would you do the ant people? The Hopi talk about the ant people. And it's like if you had a
yep,
catastrophic event, whether it was an impact or like you could say a mega volcano, like a Yellowstone eruption, right? An earth killer, something close to that, a pole shift, a continental. There's the theory out there, the Adam and Eve theory. There's a book was declassified it was classified by the CIA, and they actually declassified it, but they didn't declassify all of it. So if you buy this book and you read it, you can tell there's sections that have been omitted on purpose. And it's basically a theory of a pole shift in an immediate continental, like a continental crust shift that's like massive
right,
and immediate and causes tsunamis and earthquakes, obviously, and volcanoes and everything. And it's from like something about the mantle underneath the crust becoming lucid with the pole shifting problem. And then that makes the continental plates above be able to kind of move more than they normally would. And then there's something that gives, it kind of just pops, right? When that happens, it's kind of like the Perry Reese map, right? Where they talk about why was Antarctica on this map? You know what
right,
I mean? And it's a map from really, really ancient times, way before anybody ever discovered Antarctica, but it's on this
right.
fucking map. And there's a couple of them like that from ancient times where you're like, well, how did they know that landmass was there when it wasn't quote unquote officially discovered yet? You know? And it's like, well, there is a theory that there was a time kind of like the Atlantis thing, and then something popped and everything shifted. Everybody still tried. There's really so much speculation with the Younger Dryas thing, for the most recent cataclysm, which was probably about
Right.
10, 11,000 before present, something like that. But
Yeah,
dude, it's cool
and the
investigating this
Ice
stuff,
Age.
especially the biblical connections and stuff. It's really neat.
Well, and it's like all the cultures and people before whatever made all the ice melt and the big flood.
Mhm.
What was going on 10,000 years ago is like the real question because it seems like every continent that wasn't covered in ice
Yep.
had some sort of people that were doing something and we're discovering more and more things. You have the mound
There's
people and the
there's
clove
global
people in North
signatures.
America. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
There's
then
global signatures for sure.
there's DNA links that as far as the land migration thing, there's certain DNA groups that do not tie into that. And they've been outliers to kind of say, like, if these people migrated on the Great Land Bridge, like their DNA would be here and here and throughout. And there's groups of people in different
Yeah.
regions
The
that
land
don't
bridge
tie
theory
into
is
that.
the land
Yeah.
bridge theory is as dead as the fucking theory when it
Well,
came to what was it? the first peoples in the Americas, they named it after that arrowhead. Uh,
Clovis?
Clovis people.
The
It's
Clo
like all those
Yeah,
theories are gone, man. They're so
yeah,
outdated now. I mean, a lot of modern academia, like if you're fucking 10-year-old, right, is
right,
taking a history class, they're probably still going to be talking about the land bridge. But the thing about it is it's like we've known for a long time now that that humanity predates the land bridge. And then like there's DNA
well, and a lot of that's
connections between
also
Australians and Amazonians, dude.
yeah,
Australians and Amazon, like how is there a connection with like Amazonians and Australians when you had to have, even during the ice age when sea levels were 400 or 500 feet lower and oceanfront property today was pushed out miles, right? And archaeological evidence for all that, unfortunately, is all underwater, right? For those
right.
original coastlines during the ice age. But you're like, dude, even then, Australia to South America, you're talking about a massive trip. And then like you have the connections between the Hawaiian people and the people down
Yeah,
there in
all the island people, yep.
yeah, where they were
The
doing dude, they were crossing oceans
yeah, bef
10,000 plus years ago, and they were doing it like we have DNA markers all that you can trace these DNA markers. It's really interesting, you know?
that's the thing what really gets me, and I think a lot of that too is because not so much the Ethiopian Bible and, like, old Bible stuff, but it disproves some of, like, what where mankind came from and all the stuff. If mankind was everywhere, it disproves, like, mankind started here, you know? And I think for
I
a
think
lot
we're
of it and
so yeah, I
why
think we're
Graham
so
H
much more ancient. I think we're so
Yeah,
much more ancient than we think we are.
I
I
agree.
really do. That's why I mean, why wouldn't we have had giants? Everything was bigger during the ice age, everything. Think about deer, elk, just regular species of everything was a lot bigger. Is it really weird to think that we would have like 9, 10 foot humans? I mean, is that so outlandish?
Right.
It's like, come on, we got 8 foot humans now, dude. I mean, that motherfucker
Well,
Zimp, the place for the San Antonio Spurs is like 7'8" and one of the most athletic
right.
human beings that's ever been created on Earth. And he's like 7'8", and he's single-handedly right now, like in the NBA playoffs, just doing some crazy shit from a guy that's never been that tall.
Well,
You know?
and we have, like, pygmy, like, we have really tiny people, the variation of yeah, and that's
Yeah.
like,
The Smithsonian, dude. I need to get in the Smithsonian, bro. I'm like,
right,
I tell people when they ask me, like, "Why are you getting a PhD in history? What are you gonna do with it?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm access. Access."
right,
You know how you get in the Vatican? That's how you get in the Vatican. You gotta get access. You know how you get in
yeah,
the Smithsonian and start looking at shit that's not displayed in the Smithsonian? You gotta have some academic credential access. You do. You gotta be
right,
doing some kind of investigation. You gotta be very specific about what you're looking for. You gotta be intelligent in your request. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta have the credentials. It's like, dude, I mean, that's really literally one of the primary reasons why I'm continuing my education, you know, in the history realm, like, through that program, is so I can get access to a lot of places where I wouldn't be able to have access if I didn't have it,
right,
you know? And so I love that. I can't wait. I'm not done with it yet, but I mean, like, it's fucking tracking on, dude. It takes so long to get this shit done. My God, I've been working on this for years now. I'm almost done though. It's really, really close. All right, dude. We're 24, half an hour in. We haven't even started talking about the shit I got written down here. So we probably better
alright,
start
let's
talking about
let's
the
do
stuff
it,
we've written.
let's do it.
Also, I know I'm 25 minutes in, but Sam Barrett, we're thinking about you, homie. My buddy Sam, he's like, hey, man, he's like, don't you guys have an episode dropping? Like, what's the deal? You're supposed to have an episode drop. I was like,
Where is it?
sorry, bro. I was like, we got a little spun up on some stuff here in the home front, like with some work and some other stuff. We had to push it out a few days, but we're thinking about you, Sam. Love you, buddy. Dude had the best hair I ever knew in the army. I'm not joking. Fantastic hair. Ridiculous. He's a sexy bastard. All right. Regular gasoline right now, prices $4.50 a gallon. $4.50 a gallon, regular gasoline. Diesel, $5.65 a gallon. And Brent crude right now, it's dropped $5 from the last time we reported this. Is it's sitting at $100 a barrel right now. Mm. And so Real quick news stuff. Like we said, we got to talk about it. U.S. and Iran exchange strikes. Dude, this was ceasefire is a weird ceasefire to me, bro. It's one of the weirdest ceasefires I've ever.
Yeah,
It's like for a ceasefire, there's a hell of a lot of shooting going on everywhere. So Israel kills 32 more people in
yeah.
Lebanon. Dude, Lebanon is starting to look a
Lebanon's
lot like
getting
Gaza. It's starting to look a lot
yeah,
like it's getting torched. It's getting torched. All these dude,
yeah.
they bombed St. Peter's fucking burial site. St. Peter. Remember we were talking about, hey, Christians out there. Dude, like Ethiopia, Lebanon, like, remember we were talking about Ethiopia? Like, the Christian history in these areas, if you're an American Christian, get your head out of your ass a little bit and do some real research on the history of Christianity in regions, geography,
It's be
okay? Because
it's
Lebanon and
because they're not
Ethiopia have,
fucking
like, the
white,
oldest
dude.
Christian population. Yeah. They have the oldest Christian population on fucking record. Like St. Peter's goddamn burial ground is right there in Lebanon. And like this, I don't know, man. We're so
It's
detached.
because
Like
they
I
don't
said,
look
we're so detached as Americans.
it's just because they don't, like, look like white Christians. If you saw those people, you wouldn't think they were Christian. If you're just some Christian American who's a MAGA supporter, you wouldn't think some dude from Ethiopia or Lebanon is a Christian. You would automatically identify them as a Muslim just because they're how they look, you know?
You know what I hate
Like,
about what you're
and
saying?
that's a big thing.
You know
I
what I
don't
hate
know,
about
what
what you're saying?
a lot of things probably.
No, because I've always been the guy that's been like, I would never let like the race, I would always consider that like a race baiting thing, right?
Right.
And it's like, dude, what else can we point to? I don't know what else to point to on it
Yeah.
besides that. Like, I think you're 100% right because and that's what drives me crazy because it seems like such an easy thing to say just to be like, Americans are bigoted or racist or whatever, and they're checking out. But I'm like, dude, the more we look at like the Gaza stuff and 70,000 plus people, and it's just like
Yeah.
a complete blind eye to absolute torture and barbarism
Well,
and concentration
and
camp
look
living conditions and massive starvation and massive killing. And to check out from them to be like, wait a minute, this was happening in France. This was
right.
happening in England. Like the exact same
Well,
thing.
look
We would
what
have a
happened in
completely
South
different reaction.
Africa. And
Mhm.
the South African settlers, white settlers who got pushed back and Trump gave amnesty to America because there's a group of people, black people in South Africa, indigenous people to the region who are pushing back on those like white people who came to South Africa. And because they're white people, like the MAGA group and all of them are like, oh yeah, let's help them. And it's the same thing at a much smaller percentage. Not there were
Mhm.
white people getting killed in South Africa, but it wasn't genocide like's going on in Gaza. And they're both
In
wrong, but the
Lebanon,
reaction from
starting to go
yeah,
on in
the
Lebanon.
reaction from that side is totally different, you know?
Yeah, and
And
like you said, dude, I fucking hate to admit that you're right on that, but that's one of those things, like, that's the evolution of your individual thought processes, right, based on new
right,
information and outcomes, like, don't be afraid, don't be chicken shit, but be willing to change your mind, but it's like, that's I 100% agree with you, dude. I can't make rhyme or reason of it outside of that. There's nothing else that makes sense to me other than the fact that these people are just the American Christians don't identify with them at all. Because of region, geography, and color. Because these,
right.
like I've said, these Christians in Lebanon and some of these, even the oldest places in Gaza with some of those churches that were destroyed, 1,000-year-old churches, like churches way older than the United States by 2 or 3 or 4 times. And people are just, fuck it. What's on TV today? Oh yeah, I just
Yeah.
went to church. Had a great experience at church. It was fucking foundational. It was great. A great church experience. What do you think about all those Christians in Lebanon getting smoked by Israel? Well,
Yeah.
they're all probably fucking Hezbollah supporters. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
Uh,
geez, we're really evolving well with all this information we have access to. We're really evolving well from it, let me tell you. Okay, god damn it, Joel. I'm recentering right now. All right. So Israel kills 32 and yeah, like I said, Lebanon is turning into Gaza now, and nobody gives a fuck. All right, the peace deal. Trump administration is currently awaiting a formal response from Tehran on the U.S. proposed peace deal. Nothing's happening with that. Like Tehran's still doing the same thing. Go fuck yourself. Clashes in the Strait of Hormuz. Apparently, the U.S. military was fired on. Iranian drones and missile attacks. However, that Iran says it was a response because the U.S. military fired on two disabled U.S. or not U.S. Iranian tankers, and so right now they're exchanging fire over there navally. That is definitely happening, and Iran is launching back into the UAE, and Israel is killing people daily, around 30-ish in Lebanon that's being reported on a day, and somehow we're talking about a ceasefire being in place.
Right.
I don't know.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
I th- I kind of think Israel almost planned this Iran war
Oh,
to start bombing Libya. Like it was a distraction because they
you mean
knew there would
Lebanon?
be no, or yeah, not I mix
Of
those
course,
up and
it's
I've
the
done that in
Greater Israel
podcasts
Project.
before. Yeah.
It's the Greater
And
Israel
I
Project.
and I
It's
knew
part.
I think they knew with Iran it would be a drawn out thing that would be back and forth and they could go and bomb fucking Lebanon. You know, it
Yeah,
seems yeah.
that's why Turkey is on the shit list too, homie.
Yep.
It's all part of the Greater Israel Project, man. Turkey's on the shit list. Like all these other places are on the shit list. You know, it's about our safety. So yeah, I don't think so.
And
You
just
guys have
like
been the most
real
powerful regionally backed, like globally backed. Like, yeah, you're little, but they're wildly powerful because all the
just
greatest
for
empires in the world back them.
I heard this from another podcast, so I'm not going to take credit for the information, but it really sounds true. So, another country that has the exact same population in about mass as Israel is Papua New Guinea. Imagine if we were sending Papua New Guinea, if we sent Papua New Guinea $320 billion over the last fucking 20 years and we're funding all their military enterprises to conquer their region. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, and
Jesus
they're like
Christ,
carpet
man.
bombing their indigenous New Guineas people, and yeah, people in
Yeah,
America be
like,
like, "Wait a minute, what are we doing again? What's going on?"
yeah,
It's the religious
that's,
aspect, homie. Like it's the
yeah, it's,
justification for the man in the clouds. Justification for the man in the clouds. Actually, your interpretation, sorry, individual
yeah,
interpretation on the man in the clouds, which apparently is wildly different than the interpretation of the Christian interpretation of the man in clouds in Lebanon and in that country, because American Christians could give a fuck about
right.
Lebanese Christians or Gazan Christians or Iranian Christians that we're killing as well, and Israel is killing. So anyway, and what else we got going on here? So the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed to commercial shipping. No commercial vessels seem to be crossing, regardless of what the U.S. is saying about um, being able to transport them. The U.S. is still very, very not into getting close to Iran navally. Just, even though we've won the war 17 times and we've destroyed their military capabilities even more than that, like we're still really, really, really leery of them. And the supreme leader is still believed to be alive, Mohaba Khamenei, and directing the war in private. And so there seems to be more evidence that he's actually survived his attacks because he got hit pretty hard at the very beginning of the war, right? Remember, his entire family was like wife, kids, dad, everybody was
Right.
killed like right away, just pow. I really doubt he's going to be down with negotiating much.
Yeah.
I don't know. If it was my family, yeah, who knows? So anyway, let's get into the stuff. And so we're gonna start with a guy who you may or may not heard of, but this guy was killed very, very, very recently. And so getting back into whatever, I think this is 5 of our series, and on all this information going from fusion and plasma and energy and single point systems and Stephen Greer and dead scientists and missing scientists and all the different UAP nuclear connections between California, Ohio, New Mexico, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Roswell, like all these different things that we're investigating here. The Trump family connection to Nikola Tesla and his seized documents, and the Secrecy Act in 1951, where they'd take these inventors and they will put you in federal prison for 20 years if you invent something that threatens the fossil fuel industry, and they will classify it immediately. And even if you speak about it, your ass is going to prison for 20 years at least. Like homeboy who was put in prison for 2 years and then died in prison. because he had contempt of court, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy stuff. And so we're going to expand on that a little bit today. So, December 5th, 2025. All right, it was a Monday, about 9 o'clock at night, Massachusetts. Quiet little town outside of Boston. 4-story brick condominium building, and a family of 5 is living inside of it on the second floor. The children are eating in the kitchen. Husband's doing some business stuff in there. Kids are playing around. The doorbell rings, keeps ringing. It rings a few times apparently. A 12-year-old little girl goes and looks. She sees a guy holding a package. He's got on a reflective vest. He looks like a typical UPS, FedEx delivery kind of guy. Her dad tells her not to worry about it. Go keep playing. He goes and opens the door. As soon as he opens the door, immediately 3 shots. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, like right when he opens the door, right in front of the 12-year-old girl. The guy shot 3 times. He shot in the chest, he shot in the abdomen, stomach area, and he shot in the thigh. All right. The Brookline police arrive pretty quick. They try to stop the bleeding. They transport him to the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston. He clings to his life for a number of hours, and then he's pronounced dead. The morning of December 16th, 2025. The guy's name is Nuno Filipe Gomes Loureiro. Nuno Filipe Gomes Loureiro. He was 47 years old, left behind a wife and 3 daughters. Okay. So, who the hell was this guy, and why do we care? Okay. He was born in 1977, Portugal, small city in the central north of the country. I bet there's about 60,000 people around there. He graduated from Elvis Martins Secondary School, and then he transferred to the capital in Lisbon, apparently, and took part in the most prestigious engineering and physical sciences institution that Portugal has to offer. He earned his undergraduate and master's degrees in physics, all in physics stuff around the year 2000. PhD and postdocs. All right. He has his doctorate degree from the Imperial College of London, studied under plasma theorists. So all of his PhD is plasma theory stuff in the world. His dissertation was on what was called tearing modes in plasma. Now, what is tearing modes in plasma? Because I definitely didn't know what it was. All right. And so, as follows. In a fusion reactor, you have superheated plasma. Hydrogen ions at temperatures above 100 million degrees Celsius. It's hotter than the core of the sun, bro. It's hotter than the core of the sun. So, and this is like on Earth to a plasma center. And so 100 million degrees Celsius. To keep the plasma, okay, and then you have to keep the plasma from touching the walls of the reactor and immediately cooling and destroying the experiment. You can find it inside a magnetic field, donut-shaped magnetic field. And the donut is called a tokamak. We talked about this, I think, on the last episode, like how you contain plasma that's that hot and kind of like bouncing everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's like, they're using magnets in this donut-shaped thing called a tokamak, and apparently like all these institutions that have been working on plasma technology and all these fucking scientists, this seems to be kind of repeated. So, and it's repeated even in that is somehow how they hold on to this 100 million degrees Celsius freaking plasma thing, that they're trying to jump into energy. Apparently this plasma starts to develop instabilities. It starts to jump around, or what they call misbehave. I guess that's the official scientific term for it. It's misbehaving. So currents that should be smooth break into smaller currents in this process. Magnetic field lines that should be intact break and reconnect in ways that apparently release huge amounts of energy, like in milliseconds. So when this plasma is doing its thing in the magnets and it's breaking apart and coming back together throughout that entire process, and just being so hot, it's creating massive amounts of energy, just crazy, catastrophic, obviously if in the wrong hands, amounts of energy, and it's held within this magnetic field somehow. Lucero spent 20 years of his career on basically this problem, on harnessing plasma energy, and was apparently one of the top 2 or 3 humans in the world on planet Earth, regardless of background and nationality, that worked on this stuff and was actually figuring it out. He worked at the Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory, also the Imperial College of London plasma stuff. He worked at the Colham Center for Fusion Energy in the United Kingdom, and the British Atomic Energy Authority fusion facility. All right. Dude, and he was hired by MIT in 2016. This guy's got a credential background. Dude. I got pages of this shit, of awards, schools, occupations. I mean, dude, I'm not kidding. I was almost trying to think, like, how much of this should I talk about? Because there's so, like, this guy is
Right.
so credentialed. I'm almost like, I could fill 10 minutes just talking about this guy's credentials, man. In 2022, he became the deputy director of plasma science and the fusion center. I guess the most important thing is just like all of this stuff has to do with fusion plasma, alternate energy. And he was like maybe the top guy in the field and really, 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 really respected. And apparently in 2024, he was like 8 weeks away from from achieving what they called first plasma, which is like a commercial fusion experiment for commercialization. And that was, yeah, so he was 8 weeks from it, and that was in like 2024. So it must have been pretty close to when he was killed, like right before he was killed. Right. He was getting
Right.
pretty close to figuring something out with that. Something important, probably something that would have saved us a lot of money. Um, why would we want to do that? Of course. Okay. Some of his awards, he had the top honor for early career plasma physics, which was called the American Physical Society Award. He also received the Los Alamos National Laboratory's Undistinguished Scholar Award, and that's named after the mathematician who had co-invented the hydrogen bomb. So that's a pretty prestigious award. A lot of awards from MIT. Twice won the Department of Nuclear Sciences and Engineering Outstanding Professor Award for teaching the introductory plasma physics course, which apparently his students absolutely, from all reports, all those, because he's been a professor at a lot from all these different countries, all these different institutions, all these different societies, you would say, like MIT and like all these other kind of things, and had very high, his students called him brilliant, and they gave him a lot of attention. He got most of his award nominations were from students. Had just, I guess, people, they just really liked him. The Portugal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Paulo Rangel, announced after his death that it was just going to be basically irreplaceable to science. Called it an irreplaceable loss for science, completely irreplaceable. And so, yeah, he was murdered in front of his family, mid 40s, and apparently his loss actually legitimately sets the fusion plasma movement back. Apparently, like pretty much by all reports, that his loss is that significant. Maybe that's the best way to put it, right? Like it's a no shit significant, really big problem in the scientific community to lose that guy. It's a really shitty deal. Yeah. So
It's
yeah.
it's interesting because it makes me wonder, like, who's behind it, I guess. And in my head of like diving into this, like I have 3 hypotheses. It's our own government. There's been another government who's been
Shadow
knowing.
government.
There's been a government who's stolen our nuclear codes, and that was Israel. And that was Gillian Maxwell's father, who then wrote our school books. Anyways,
Yeah, dude.
and then or Russia, and those are like kind of like the speculations of like the and possibly China, but I feel like
I think
it's
China's the technologically most capable to do it if they so chose. I think Russia is interesting because remember the direct energy weapon systems we bought from the
yeah,
Russian mob for 15 million bucks, the one that Amy Eskridge was talking about, burning her hands and like 3D dimensioning her freaking house and figuring out kind of what she was writing and stuff, some weird stuff.
right.
And that's all been documented. That actually happened. Like the purchase of a $15 million direct energy wave system from the Russian mob fucking happened. The United States government through undercover networks purchased a Russian-created direct energy system that they're now implementing.
Well, and if you guys wanna watch, I think it was David Wilcox, he's a guy who just died in Boulder, but he has a really good podcast on, that direct energy weapon, the one that essentially, like, maps your house out with radio waves and how they would use it, and that he put out before he died, which is pretty interesting
Yeah.
as well.
Like,
So,
why wouldn't we believe that that's I mean, that's like sonar. Like,
yep,
whales can do that shit.
yep,
Dolphins, like, there's you know what I mean? They figure out space and dimensions through, like, a sonar push-out
yep,
mechanism that comes back and then gives them proximities and geology, if you think about it. Like, under
yeah.
how you're gonna go,
Well,
where you're gonna go, like, how far it is to get there. It's like, why wouldn't is it really that outlandish to believe that in 2026 that we're capable of developing a form of technology that almost uses the
right,
exact same thing and then just gives you dimensions. I mean, they're doing that with satellites now, like we said, under the Giza pyramids with the Bondi
yeah,
project. Like they're able to
exactly.
get down kilometers into the earth basically using seismic waves. And of course you can do stuff like that. It's not fucking
It
crazy. It's
lets you
crazy
see
for
through
people to think it's
walls.
crazy.
Yep,
And so, okay, fusion in 2026 is no longer 20 years away. And it's getting, remember we talked about like society's twisting hard and eventually it's going to pop. Maybe 100 years, maybe 50 years, maybe in our lifetimes, maybe not in our lifetimes, but there's going to be a time where we're going to pop into a completely different form of like what we're going to be using for energy globally, you know? And we're not going to be relying on fossil fuels forever. The fossil fuel industry is holding on by the skin of their teeth right now, even though they're making unbelievable amounts of money. And so, um, what's actually happening this year? Commonwealth Fusion Systems, MIT spinoff, founded in 2018, is a private fusion company, and it's the largest one in the world, apparently. What's really going on? So there's a lot. I don't know. I don't want to read like all this stuff, but there's basically a well over $2 billion that's pretty much being invested from a lot of different organizations that are basically trying to figure out like energy projects, how to do fusion, how to do plasma, how to do all that stuff, and it's becoming a lot more overt than it used to be. Yeah, these projects, they're all about fusion energy gain, and if they achieve it, it's going to be a complete game changer. But there's a lot of stuff that's coming out of this right now, and a lot of it has to do with those tomahawk like magnet things. You know what I mean? There's a substance out there called this is actually really interesting. Uridium, barium, copper oxide, uridium, barium, copper oxide, or YBCO. It's a high temperature conducting tape, and they have to use this for those tomahawks to hold on to plasma that's burning at like 100 million degrees and like hotter than the sun, right? And apparently, this superconducting tape, this you know barium, copper oxide, whatever, is theoretically strong enough to lift an aircraft carrier out of the water. Like if you hooked it onto an aircraft carrier and something above it that could actually be able to like have the energy to do it, that these cables would be able to hold it. And
that's
that's how
wild.
strong they are. Yeah. And they have to be in there with with that magnet stuff, with that tomahawk donut magnetism system for plasma energy. I mean, if you seems to be a real big problem, and it makes a lot of sense because when you're dealing with a matter that you don't, that's kind of in a lot of ways unexplainable. It's like cutting
Right.
edge is fuck, but it exists everywhere around us, and you get a piece of this somehow, and it's burning at 100 million plus degrees, which is what I think I said, whatever, hotter than the core of the sun, but it creates energy that could probably theoretically blow a hole in that very part of the earth that you could see from fucking 100 million light years away
Right.
because it's probably producing so much energy. And you got these humans with their monkey brains, with their really, really advanced developed monkey brains studying this stuff and they got magnets and they got this copper oxide and they're trying to figure out how to fucking contain it. Right. And then like, once you figure out how to contain it and you figure out that it has all this unbelievable amounts of energy that's free and like way way more powerful than anything the fossil fuel industry could ever in a million years ever develop, right? If it's just based on fossil fuels and jet propulsion systems.
Right.
And you're like, and then how do you harness that energy? And then like without it somehow blowing a fucking hole in the earth. It's like the nuclear problem, right? With the Manhattan Project. in a lot of ways. You're like, there was something funny about so the scientists in the Manhattan Project were quoted basically saying like the probability was not zero that the first time that they detonated a nuclear weapon that there was going to be a chain reaction globally with like atoms and it was going to blow up the earth. Like literally
Right.
blow up the earth. They had conversations about this because they're like if we blow up this atom bomb that's never been blown up before through splitting atoms, right? Is this thing going to develop a chain reaction when we blow it like on the world and create a chain reaction and basically just burn the earth to a crisp? And they're like, yeah, it wasn't a zero, it was above zero. The chance of that happening mathematically was above zero, bro. And they did it anyway.
Well,
I
well,
mean, like they did
a-
it anyway, dude.
and it's like when you go into like CERN, the particle accelerator, that massive,
Mm.
it's like a big massive loop that shoots these particles and smacks them into each other essentially. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that think that created alternate like infinite timelines for like Earth was set into a different timeline when that happened. It's kind of like a
It's like the
conspiracy
Spider-Man
theorist thing.
cartoon
Yep.
where there's like 10 different Spider-Men in 10 different worlds all doing the same
Yep.
jobs. Right?
Yep.
Alternate. It, that's a trippy thing to think about. Like there's 10 of yous there's 10 yous out there, Joel, doing Joel
Right.
stuff. And maybe not in Aspen, maybe you're in Istanbul, Turkey
Right.
right now working
There's,
construction.
yep. It's fucking
Somewhere else.
wild.
All right. So why does this matter so much to the fossil fuel industry? I think this, even though we're 55 minutes in, which is pretty deep for this is really good information. And I think this matters a lot. So the fossil fuel industry's market capitalization globally, approximately 7 to 10 trillion dollars. That includes the integrated majors like Saudi Aramco, Exxon Mobil, Shell, BP, and state-owned giants. Okay, the fossil fuel industry's annual revenue globally, Joel, is approximately $5 trillion per year. $5 trillion per year. Okay,
And also mentioned they're one of the most subsidized industries
yep.
in the United States as well.
So it's
So,
almost all profit if you
yep,
think about it in a lot of ways. There's probably a little bit of reinvestment, I'm sure, in other stuff, but it's not through like they're not getting taxed.
yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's $5 trillion a year, homie. All right. If commercial fusion comes online, what happens if there's commercial fusion through plasma or different forms of energy things? It doesn't compete with the fossil fuel industry. It replaces them. Period. The end. Immediately once it hits the market. Fusion produces no carbon, no air pollution, no long-lived radioactive waste like a nuclear power plant, and the fuel for nuclear fusion. This is actually pretty cool, Joel, and I didn't know that. The fuel for nuclear fusion is called duridium and tritium. Duridium and tritium. And you know where they get that shit?
Dr. Seuss, it's fun to say.
Yeah. Seawater,
No shit.
ocean water. Yeah. And it's like a combination of ocean water and lithium, apparently. So the combination of ocean water and lithium produces this deuterium and tritium, which pretty much means that it's unlimited. It's unlimited
Yeah.
fuel, is what it is. And if you're like a coastal country, like the United States, Spain, Italy, you know what I mean? You're not landlocked like Germany or something. You're not even going to have to transport your commodity for your energy
Right.
making. Like you're right there. You're right by the ocean. You can just gather it. If you're in Germany or something, at that point, like really the only transport you're worried about for being able to create energy now is just to transport ocean water.
And
If you can
sea
transport ocean
levels,
water into your factories, you can generate this stuff and it creates fusion.
and with sea levels going up, like it doesn't seem like a horrible idea.
They're going to ebb and flow for sure, right? I mean, we know that
Right.
from the last ice age.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like now they're on the pathway of going. I believe in climate change, but I'm not one to like point out industry or it's all human. Like
I think the earth
uh,
is wildly
I think
resilient.
the earth is going to do what the fuck it wants to do and there's going to be hots
Yeah.
and colds and
the more you
When
research,
it
like, the Earth's history, you know,
Yeah,
like, when it comes
yeah,
to geology and stuff, dude, the Earth will shake us off like it's not like, I understand the fossil fuel stuff, I understand what everybody's scared about and, like, the trash and the dumps, but here's another thing, like, all the dumps that we have with all of our tr plastics and trash, dude, 10,000 years from now, like, we're studying Baalbek in Lebanon, right? At least
right.
10,000-year-old brick structure, or not brick, but stone structures that are still in place and still alive. Do you think there's any plastics gonna be around in 10,000 years? Paper, rubber,
Right,
metal, nothing. Concrete, literally nothing that we produce is gonna last. It's not.
right,
The Earth is gonna kill it, swallow it, destroy it, disintegrate it. It will not exist. All the plastics and everything we're making right now, eventually, the Earth is gonna get rid of all of it. All of it,
right,
and it can do it way better than we can, you know, a lot better, and the more, like, and then when you research about the cataclysms and about how the Earth has gotten so hot, the Earth has been a lot hotter than
right,
it is now, a lot hotter, when times that humans have been alive, you know what I
right.
mean? And it's also been a lot colder than it is right now, in the times that humans have been alive, and so I think that there's something to do, like, it's not like I'm not saying that we don't have some kind of an impact, but what I'm saying is I think our impact is more immediate into our personal lives. I don't think it has the long-term effects
Yeah,
on the
like,
earth that we used to think it does or did.
when I'm talking about climate change, I'm thinking it's based on bigger things and what's really happening with the Earth and magnetic poles and everything like that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
That's
when
what
I'm talking
I've
in
evolved to that too. I've kinda moved away from the whole
right,
man-made. I just think the earth
right,
could give a fuck about us and about what we
and
think we're how powerful we think we are, you know?
and then when I'm talking about, like, environmental stuff, it's coming mainly from, what I'm putting into my body and what I'm drinking in my water. So, like, anytime I'm maybe bashing on some sorta, like, industry, it's based on, us fucking up our water table with the shit we're spraying in our foods and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and then, like, what we're eating and putting in our body. Outside of that, the climate change has more to do with the
Yeah.
earth than it does the people.
Yeah, I think, I think for people that just kinda watch CNN or Fox News or, dabble in some stuff here and there, like global warming and climate change and, like, "Oh god, we didn't have a winter this year in Steamboat," and everything else as if the last 2 or 300 years is even measurable in the history
Right,
of the Earth. It's not
right,
at all. Like, our little winter, the lack of winter that we had here in Steamboat, it's not even fucking measurable in
right,
10,000 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
it's like just since the history of goddamn the United States of America isn't measurable when it comes to like the history of the of geology for the earth.
right.
It's not it's like it falls well within the margin of error. Well within the margin of error. And so you're like, those measurements and everything, dude, like we're just we live 100 years. We live 60 years that we're actually like functional and operational and can get
Right.
around. Like the first 10 years of our existence, we're kids. We're pieces of shit. We don't know anything. We're just running around, fucking running indoors and shit, throwing baseballs. You know what I mean? The last 10 or 15 years of your life, almost the same, just depending on how old you are and what you're capable of. I mean, you have like 50 years of viability. That's what I should say.
And it used to be 25, 30 years of liability because people were dying when they were 50
Yeah.
and 60, you know?
Mhm.
Like,
So it's
so
like everything that we see in in our lifetime, which is so finite and so short. It's
right,
like, so if you have like, oh man, 50 years ago up in Montana, their winters were way harder. It's like, yeah, 50
right.
years ago isn't even a fucking beginning of a blink of an eye in the history of the world.
Well,
Like, it
and
doesn't,
then
yeah.
once again, we solve the problem from a way to make money. We don't solve a problem from like, hey, we might have a warm spell for 20 years because that's what's going on. We solve
Mhm.
it from like a fear. Let's cause fear. Let's divide the people and let's make them pick a side so one of our sides could make a bunch of fucking money versus
Yeah,
actually looking as a whole and saying like, how can we fix this problem for the people if this is what's happening? We
exactly.
sell fear.
So if you think about like pollution, global warming, like for me, I'm not worried about the earth in 10,000 years. I'm thinking
Right.
about water. Can people drink water today? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Is that the problem? Because in 10,000 years, whether humans are still here or not, the earth is still going to be earthing.
Yeah.
And if there's another species that evolves to consciousness and does what we fucking do, however the hell we got here, whether it's panspermia or it's natural evolution, whatever the fuck it is, in 300,000 years, 5 million years, when that has to happen again, 10 million years, which is still nothing comparatively speaking for the history of the Earth. Are they going to go look back at us in 10 million years and be like, oh, I think they had some fossil fuels shooting into the air?
Right.
I mean, because the Earth it's all recycled and gone. But for us today,
Well,
right now, it's like, yeah, there's a pollution issue because it affects the drinking supply. It also affects the food industry, right?
right.
And so we're dealing with this on the micro level now, but on the macro level, as far as the Earth is concerned, the Earth doesn't fucking care, and it's not going to matter
Yeah.
at all. But for us today, for our kids, for our futures, which are pretty, like I said, everything is within the next 150 years that we see, we experience. It's really important. It's
Yeah.
really important to have clean, drinkable water, you know?
Uh,
And so that's where I'm sit with like the global warming pollution thing,
yeah.
is I'm not worried about the Earth, but I think I'm worried about people today. Yes, for sure.
Right.
You know? And so moving on, Joel, got hour and five
Yep.
minutes in here, dude. This is going to be a 2-hour podcast, dude.
All right. I'm ready.
So 1947, homie, 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. A man named Mark Brazel, finds debris, what he calls debris, scattered across a sheep pasture. All right. He calls this metal very light, unbreakable. He could squish it in his hands and it pops right back open with no creases, right? It's extraordinarily light, has like almost no weight to it all returns to the natural shape. He calls his local sheriff. The sheriff calls Roswell Army Airfield, which at the time apparently is the only base, I guess, in the United States that is authorized to handle nuclear technology and weapons, which is an interesting phone call to make, right? But then at
Yeah.
the same time, it is New Mexico, and that is where they did all the nuclear testing. And so it's like, maybe it's not an interesting phone call for the sheriff to make and be like, hey, I live here. Give me your nuclear shit again.
Right.
You know what I mean? All you fuckers. And so, it could just be, it doesn't need to actually mean anything. So on July 8th, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield issues a press release. The headline runs, this is literally the Roswell Army Airfield press release. This isn't like the Roswell News press release. It says the Army has recovered, quote, a flying disc. The Army has recovered a flying disc. This came from the Army. July 8th, 1947. From the Army, the Roswell Army Airfield issues a press release saying the Army has recovered, quote, a flying disc. Okay, the very next day, it's retracted, right?
Weather balloon.
And it's a weather balloon. It's exactly what they said. They retracted it, and they said it was a weather balloon. So the day before, this super duper authorized, the only outfit authorized to handle nuclear technology, kind of a smart outfit probably. They probably have some brainy people in that outfit, maybe. This is a press release that straight up says we've recovered a flying disc, and now it goes to a balloon. I don't know. Balloons are made of like rubber, stretchy, rubbery shit.
Right.
Flying made of a metal that you can squish in your hand and that is weightless and then pops back to its original form and is also very, very, very strong. That seems to be a little bit different than what a fucking balloon looks like. Okay, fine. So it's a weather balloon. The debris from the ranch, whatever it was loaded onto a B-29 and flown to Wright Field, which eventually becomes Wright-Patterson. Okay. Wright-Patterson, like, I'll get into it in a minute. It's in Dayton, Ohio. So Wright Field at the time was the United States Air Force's primary research and development center. Okay. Within a year, it merged with Patterson Field. And then basically every official UFO investigation in the United States Air Force that's ever been freaking run has been headquartered basically out of there since then. It's Project Sign in 1948, Project Grudge, which is in 1949, immediately after Project Sign. There's going to be an interesting comparison I'm going to make between Project Sign and Project Grudge here in a minute. And then Project Blue Book, which was from 52 to 69, 1952 to 1969. All right. So, and remember, this is also where that Air Force Major General, remember McCaslin? He commanded Wright-Patterson. The same guy that walked off of his place in Albuquerque with, we've said this 100 times, but it's worth repeating. He has no medical equipment, has mandatory medical equipment he has to have with him, no glasses, no wallet. He takes a pistol, you know what I mean? In his hiking boots, basically, and leaves and never is heard from again to this day. And it hasn't been, it's been within the year. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He
recent.
had a place in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. They weren't able to find anything out of there. Anyway, he's just one of those missing guys that is really, really, really smart and now has been disappeared. And we've gone into him quite a bit. Okay. The Roswell Foundation. The Roswell Foundation. So July 1947 is the Roswell incident. The press release that became a redaction, remember? So the original press release was from the actual Army that we recovered a flying disc. There's 2 pilot accounts. This is pretty damn interesting, bro. Okay. This is pretty cool, actually. There's 2 pilot accounts on the record from the men who flew that like B-29 full of debris and everything, because they had to have pilots fly those planes, right? It wasn't just the people loading it. Like somebody had to fly the motherfucker. And so there's a guy named Oliver Henderson. One of the pilots was named Oliver Henderson. His call sign was Pappy. He told his wife he flew a plane loaded with debris and also what he described to his family for his entire life, small alien bodies from Roswell, New Mexico to Dayton, Ohio, right, Patterson. There was another pilot, and he was a World War II ace. This guy was big time in World War II. Hell of a fighter pilot, apparently. His name was Marion McGruger. Marion McGruger. His call sign was Black Mac. Black Mac. His children and his family have also publicly stated and claimed for years, his entire life, that he said that he transported living non-human entities. That he transported in that cargo plane living non-human entities. And the last thing he said on his deathbed, one of the last things he said when he was dying, he had felt so badly about what had happened, apparently, or what he witnessed. He literally said, quote, "It was a shameful thing that the military destroyed this creature by conducting tests on it," end quote. So all the way to his dying day, telling his family, friends, people that would listen, that they transported living non-human entities, said, quote, as he was dying with his family, "It was a shameful thing that the military destroyed this creature by conducting tests on it," end quote. So those guys, that's some pretty interesting testimony. And it's collaborated by their families, friends, everybody. Their stories did not change, homie. It's kind of like, what's the guy, that scientist whose story never ever changed? And he was just on Rogan. They made a big documentary on him. MIT or not, like possibly,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I'm
But anyway,
digging the
there's something to
registry.
be said for the people whose stories don't change. You know what I mean? If you can hold the same story, the same particulars, the same stuff for 50 years plus, right? So Project Sign, 1948, Project Sign. The Air Force establishes Project Sign at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Mission statement, quote, "To investigate UFO reports." Officially, very civilian friendly, Project Sign produces what becomes known as the estimate of the situation. Quote, "The estimate of the situation." It's a document that they produced. Those are their outcomes of their findings into these UFO investigations. And many of these investigations came from civilians, right? Okay. Their conclusion in this document, the estimate of the situation, the conclusion is UFOs were likely extraterrestrial in origin. That's the conclusion. UFOs are likely extraterrestrial in origin. Straight from Project Sign 1948. Okay. But you know who doesn't like that motherfucking conclusion, Joel?
U.S. government? Who?
Oh, God. Just fucking right there with it, man. Shit. Air Force Chief of Staff General Hoyt Vandenberg. Air Force Chief of Staff General
There you go.
Hoyt Vandenberg in 1949. As a matter of fact, he disliked it so much that you know what he did with the documents?
Got
He
rid of them.
destroyed them. They destroyed them. So Everything that came out from Project Sign in 1948 was destroyed by the Air Force Chief of Staff General Hoyt Vandenberg in 1949. 1 year after that, you know what's illegal? Do you know what it is illegal to do, Joel?
Heroin.
Yes, and destroy government property.
That too.
So like all of that stuff gets filed away. None of that stuff is supposed to be destroyed. Like if it's government funded by tax dollars through an official program, it is illegal to destroy those documents. It is illegal. It was illegal then, and it's illegal now to do such a thing. But they ordered it and they did it. Okay. And then immediately after that, Project Sign becomes what? Project Grudge. Project Sign turns into Project Grudge, which is the next one. And guess what what the sole mission of Project Grudge was? To debunk UFO sightings. So you went from Project Sign, where they said that UFOs were likely of extraterrestrial in origin based on all their outcomes, and that document the estimate of the situation. All those documents get destroyed by the U.S. Air Force, and then they replace Project Sign with Project Grudge 1 year later, specifically to debunk UFO claims. As a matter of fact, Project Grudge never found a UFO claim that they thought was credible at all. Not even fucking one.
Yeah.
Go figure. Go figure. Project Blue Book, 1952 to 1969. All right, Project Blue Book is established at Wright-Patterson, another Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It's the longest running and best documented official UFO investigation that we have on record that is open source, right? I would like to say that I bet you anything that it is not the fucking longest UFO documentation program on record, but it is the longest open source one that we have availability to. It lasted 12 years. And it investigated 12,618 sightings. 12,618 sightings officially investigated by that outfit. Of those 12,618 sightings, officially 701 remain officially classified and labeled as unidentified, not solved, not explained, officially unidentified, officially. So 701 of those 12,000 that they were investigating for the public record. And that's also public record, Joel, right? We got to remember, this is all public record shit. So you can usually multiply these things. It was headed by a guy named Captain Edward Ruppelt. Interesting dude. Project Blue Book is closed December 17th, 1969 on the recommendation of the Condon Report. The Condon Report came actually from the University of Colorado, Joel, in Boulder. And it concluded basically that any further investigation of the UFO phenomena, UAP phenomenon, was unlikely, quote, unlikely to yield significant results, end quote. And basically shouldn't be spending money on it anymore, right?
Right.
And so isn't it weird how you have these programs that have findings that are like against the official narrative, and then the immediate next thing that happens
Is control the narrative.
is they control the narrative. The immediately next thing that happens, and that happened with Project Blue Book, and that happened with Project Sign, because the very next projects that came after them were basically projects that were like, nothing to see here. That was all bullshit. Nothing further to investigate. Okay, the Foreign Technology Division. The Foreign Technology Division. So while Project Blue Book was the public face of the Air Force UFO investigation, so the Foreign Technology Division was also a Wright-Patterson Air Force Base as well. This one was covert. We're only recently finding out about this one. Officially established in 1961, FTD, the Foreign Technology Division's job was to analyze and reverse engineer, quote, foreign military technology. That's the overt mission statement. Foreign military technology, Soviet aircraft, foreign radar systems, anything that would be captured from an adversary, right? That's flying around or it could be used. Something that's technologically advanced. However, in the declassified literature from this exact same program, the Foreign Technical Division, it literally says anything of unknown provenance that might have technical military value. That's what it says. It doesn't say foreign military technology. It says anything of an unknown province that might have technical military value. That was in the declassified mission statement for this program. The FTD operated continuously from 1961 to today. It's still operating today, bro. Nothing's happened with it. It's under the name the National Air and Space Intelligence Center now. It's changed. So it's not the Foreign Technology Division anymore. Foreign technology, right? Because we're back engineering what supposedly is foreign
Right.
shit, unknown shit. And now it's called the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, but it is the exact same program. And it's been running from 1960 fucking one to today, still running. Very, very little information we can get from any of this stuff. There's some weird stuff about a Project 18 hangar. I'm not really going to get into all that kind of stuff. There was an interesting quote from a guy who was a presidential nominee, who was basically forbidden by the Air Force Chief of Staff from entering a specific room in some military installations. Senator Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater. We know that guy, right? We know that name. That name's always associated with a lot of UAP and everything else. 1964 Republican presidential nominee, serving U.S. senator. He had like all the highest security clearances you can. And here's the thing: if you're a senator out there, people, congressman, you don't just fucking get security clearances just because you're a senator and a congressman. You'll probably get like a secret because you're going to have access to some kind of information. You know what I mean? But it's not like AOC and fucking Bernie Sanders have a TSSCI security clearance. I mean, they might.
Right.
You know, but it's like it's not just something that happens just because you're in Congress or even the president, quite frankly. And so this guy though apparently had all of like the security clearances. He had the stack, all right, and he was denied over and over again repeatedly to see anything that had to do with like this Hangar 18 or some of this other stuff. And in multiple interviews, including even with Larry King, he had a former chief of staff or something that he knew really well, and he wanted to get in there to some of this stuff. And the guy who was his friend basically told him, don't ever ask me that question again. Don't ever ask me that question again. Don't ever look into this shit ever again. That was basically what he was quoted to tell this guy. This is Republican nominee, sitting senator, highest clearances you could have available. He had some inside information saying there was something going on, in these facilities. And that's and this guy, he had served with them for a long, long time. And that's what the guy told him. Don't ever ask me that question again. Don't ever inquire about that again, ever. End quote. Okay, December 16th, 2017, the New York Times publishes a story, Glowing Auroras and Black Money, the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program. On the record, the United States government defense has been operating a UFO investigation program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which is AATIP. AATIP's been testified to under oath really recently. Basically from 2007 to 2012, all of this funding for this program and everything has not been disclosed to Congress. It was not disclosed to Congress at any time. It was part of some kind of a black budget programming that had been going on for 48 freaking years. 48 years. So two officials connected to AATIP went public with the story. This is where you get Lou Elizondo. All right. He's that Pentagon counterintelligence dude, like that little short guy with all the tattoos and shit that's testifying in front of Congress all the time. So he comes from AATIP, Lou Elizondo, former Pentagon counterintelligence guy. And another dude named Christopher Mellon, who is a former deputy assistant director of defense for intelligence. And so these guys are disclosure guys for AATIP, Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo. Okay. And now remember, AATIP is that unofficial program that Congress has been, paying for that wasn't disclosed, that's basically just been kept secret for back engineering, investigating UAP and all of these energy systems and stuff. Also 3 U.S. Navy videos, the Tic Tac, the Gimbal, and the Go Fast videos released as part of the story. They were filmed by F-18 fighter pilots between 2004 and 2015, showing crazy maneuvers from crazy objects going from zero to get the fuck out of here, where it would just literally turn a human being into mush, like no shit mush if you were inside of that, like whatever that vehicle is. You know what I'm saying? The human body is not capable of moving like that under those kinds of G's from immediate to nothing.
Right.
I mean, from literally from the ocean to 30 or 40,000 feet faster than this. Faster.
Yeah, and
it's
like moving.
They're there. Yeah.
It's moving in and out of water at speeds that would crush anything else, like it doesn't make any sense. And then like the gimbal's a really cool one because you see this crazy object, like it's one of the new Star Wars movies, and there's a spaceship that looks oddly similar to like the gimbal video. but the gimbal video
Yeah.
is pretty wild because it actually looks more like a spaceship, not just this tic tac thing humming
Yeah.
across the fucking
It makes you think of,
atmosphere.
like,
The
the Phoenix Lights, you know,
right,
where that was more of a spaceship, like, when you think about, like, a
right,
sci-fi movie look,
yeah, yeah,
like an
exactly,
Independence Day, like, "Holy fuck,"
yeah,
like, you know what I mean, kinda thing.
yep,
And then, like, dude, the Navy has official reports of stuff passing their submarines underwater so fucking fast that they can't identify it at all as
yep,
it's going by. Like, it's just and then it hits their radar system so quick that by the time they even give, like, notification about it to,
yep,
whoever the boat captain, admiral thing for the submarines, then it's already gone. And this is
right,
through water, which is highly frictionous. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And so it makes you think that whatever those fields are, those gravity fields around those devices, that's somehow, I think, manipulating space
yep.
in a way to where it's just almost like transporting you. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like you
you're not feeling the outer, whether it's air resistance or water resistance, you're
yeah,
within, like, your own sphere, yeah,
exactly. And that documentary that came out with the guy that we can't freaking remember, who's the most notorious goddamn UFO whistleblower, like, in history, and we can't remember his name, out of Roswell. God damn it. Anyway, he talks about how in that documentary, which is super cool, he gets into one of those aircraft, and then, like, the inside of it becomes transparent. So, like, he's able to
right,
see through the aircraft to all the people around him in the hangar, and nobody in the hangar can see him.
right.
Do you know what I mean? And he gets in this aircraft, and it's really cool documentary. Really, really, really neat stuff. So anyway, this is all part of, like, this is all part of this disclosure stuff that's happening right now, which I actually really appreciate. Got to give credit where credit's due. I'm not a big fan of Trumpy at all, but some of the JFK disclosure stuff, some of this disclosure stuff, it's like
Uh, the
it's not
psychedelics and
the
PTSD with
psychedelics thing.
vets,
Yep, really good.
he's probably gonna decriminalize, marijuana or take it off the class,
Yeah, it'll go from like a
like
1 to a 3 or 4 class
right,
probably.
which is hilarious that that's been a give me to Democrats for fucking the last
Forever.
and they fucking
Biden could
can't
have done
even
that
do
shit
that. They fucked that yeah,
in his
I
dementia
know.
state. Yeah, I mean, why
It's
how did
so
Obama not do that?
yeah, it's so funny. Whatever.
Just in
But yeah, I'll
2026,
give
we're
him
still having a
I'll give
marijuana
him
debate in 2020. You know how many
I'll
people die of alcohol every fucking year in the United States? It's almost like
yeah,
1,000,000 people.
yeah,
You know how many people die of marijuana every year? 0. You know how many people die of psychedelics every
none,
year? 0. You know
none.
how many people die of
Yeah,
alcohol internationally every year? Well over 1,000,000 every year,
yep,
every single year. But hey, we better really get into that marijuana shit.
yeah, fucking no, I'll give Trumpy credit where it's due. I
You
mean,
got to, man.
and
You gotta be honest. You gotta
we
be
ki
honest about it.
we kinda talked
Mhm.
a little bit about this also, is, like, some of this if you're in the know of the UAP and have kinda in this wormhole, you've been looking at that stuff kinda like I have throughout my life, like, they're kinda disappointing every time there's, like, a release from the government where it's like, "Okay, we kinda knew this. We now like, with the last one, like, all those videos have been circulating, but then they finally got said that these are actual videos. These aren't made up videos or CGI. These are from government Navy ships or radars that disclose this." So, like, it's like
Yep.
it's like the Epstein stuff. It's like we all fucking know what happened. You gave us enough to like I don't know. I'm still not satisfied because I still think there's
No, no,
obviously
I'm not.
tons
Yeah,
more shit. Like they're drip
exactly.
feeding us to keep
Yep.
us like, look, we released it, and they're not doing it. But
The
it's
Epstein
more than
stuff
any
is
other
really
president
shitty
has
because you
done.
have thousands of pages that are redacted, and they're
Yeah,
redacting all of the people. You got a woman who's sitting in a Kush prison who's, even though she was a demon, by all accounts, just an
right.
absolutely horrific motherfucker. And, like, unfortunately, when I was in federal law enforcement, what I discovered that was really sad is because, there's the sex trade. Sex trade's huge, just
Yep.
fucking huge. Whether you're talking about kids, even grown-ups, like, it's huge. And what I found in federal law enforcement is we get emails, of, like, certain vans or vehicles to look out for that are kidnapping women at, like, Walmart parking lots. You know what I mean? like
Right.
really shitty stuff like moms and daughters. Could you imagine being a mom kidnapped with your 13-year-old daughter and then sold into a sex, rape, slavery ring with your daughter? It,
Yeah.
that stuff's real. Anyway, the really shitty part about that was is they use women to lure in these women. So you
Yeah.
get women that'll be like, "Hey, I need help with this flat tire. We're loading these groceries." Even an older lady. And you're like, "Oh, yeah, sure. You're a 30-year-old mom with your little girl, and you're walking with this." And then all of a sudden, the fucking 1 o'clock in the afternoon at a Walmart in North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota.
Right.
And you get pushed into a van, and that door closes. And the minute that door closes, nothing that happens after
Yeah.
that is going to be something that's going to be in any kind of way, shape, or form good. It's just going to be that's it. It's over. It's over. The minute that door closes, it's over. It's
Well,
fucking over for you. Mhm.
and just like a spin-off of what we're talking about, there was a Israel scientist who's worked with our government, and he got caught in I think he was a scientist. I could be wrong,
Yeah,
but
he
he's
was
worked with our government.
pedophile.
Yeah, he got caught in California in a pedo sting, and we just sent him back to Israel. We didn't prosecute him for fucking anything. We just sent
Yep.
him back to Israel, dude. And he was signing up to go have sex. And he talked about like there's documentation of him talking about using America for I forget what he called it, sexual vacations. Like he would go here, have sex with 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, because we have these networks in our fucking elite
Mhm.
groups, and then go back to fucking Israel. You know, it's
Yep.
fucked up. And we sent him
Diplomatic
backward
immunity.
back to Israel. It's bullshit, man.
Yeah,
It's so
after he
fucking
raped
crazy to me.
American children.
Yep.
American children. As a foreigner, like you said, New Guinea, Israel, hey, he's a fucking foreigner. Period. The
Yep.
end. And we would prosecute our own. If it
Yep.
was our own, if he was from New Guinea, Joel, France, China, hell, probably our greatest military ally we've ever had is England.
All right.
If he was English, he's going to jail. He's going to fucking jail. The embassy's not going to save him. He's going to jail.
Fucking
He works for
crazy, man.
Israel. For whatever reason, dude, whatever it is, whatever the fuck it is, whatever that little country has on us, whether it's just as simple as Christian Zionism, maybe it's just that simple. And the boomer class, which is really kind of, I think, the very, very last harboring of Christian Zionism dies with the boomers.
Dude,
Personally, I
it's
think
it's
that changes everything. But
I mean, this goes back to it's Epstein and fucking Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. That country has so much on us, dude. Ghislaine
that's not,
Maxwell's
yeah.
dad's Ghislaine
Mhm.
Maxwell's dad stole our nuclear fucking secrets, and then he bought an American company that makes all our school books. You
Yep.
know, like, and then they told us that they were invaded in
And then somehow Epstein
1967.
becomes a teacher in
Yeah,
institutions he has no qualifications for at all, in these
yeah.
institutions
It's
that have
it's
these books that they got the kids reading. Yeah, well, I mean,
anyways,
that's
it's
what I mean, like, whether it's as simple and we can just, like, pretend it's only Christian Zionism, which absolutely is a part of the puzzle, absolutely,
yeah,
is a
100%.
huge part of the puzzle, but I think when it comes to the pullover of politicians, it has to do with Epstein.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, the general public's belief in Israel over the years, it's Christian Zionism. When it comes
Yeah,
to the
and that's
politicians, it's Epstein. That's what I
and
think.
that's a and that's a psyop just to have the people there to support them when it comes to voting and stuff, you know?
Yep.
That was intentional, you know?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then Epstein's the actual vessel to make it all worth, at the highest level to say like, "Nope, you're gonna do what we say because we have way too much on you," you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. And so, basically, the rest of this stuff that I have here is pretty much just the stuff that is happening right now, like all this disclosure stuff. I have more on McCaslin, but I don't wanna go back into McCaslin because we've done so much stuff on McCaslin. It's basically
Right,
a lot of just the same stuff. There's people basically, saying that he was not. Now there's people coming out saying that he was not cognitively deficient. The whole brain fog
right,
thing. There's people coming out now saying that, like, even the sheriff's department, the search and rescue, is saying that they had some kind of interactions with him before. Not bad, not bad interactions.
right.
Just known. like locally with, it's a small, like in a community, motherfuckers, like, you know what I mean? And he was a retired general. Like military law enforcement translation back and forth is super common. He's a retired military general. Zero doubt he had a lot of conversations with sheriffs, you know what I mean, in his
Right.
community. And they all said that they all said that he was cognitively at a way higher level than them. Like at a way, way higher level than them. You know what I mean? Even at the time of
Right.
his disappearance, and they had a lot of stuff. I would highly recommend if you're out there to take a look at all this stuff that's coming out right now because it's coming out kind of hot and heavy. You know what I mean? You can find a lot of it on X. X is a really good platform for this. Investigate some of the NASA stuff. The NASA documents you have to read through. Some of it you can hear, but I always tell, dude, you know how hard it is to tell people to read?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
so hard to get people to
a
read shit. It's
and
so fucking hard.
then you have people like me where it really is hard for me to read. So
Yeah, but you read a lot, Joel.
the
You read a
the
lot,
fact
and I
that
know how hard it is for you to read with your
the fact
dyslexic
that
ass.
I'm reading out loud, like when I'm and you could probably tell when I'm reading something, but like one of my biggest fears when like I was in school is like when we'd be reading something out loud and it would be
Mhm.
coming to me like we all have a
Oh, yeah,
paragraph
dude.
to read, so I would look at the
I was the
kids how
same
they
way.
were sitting and I
Mhm.
would read my paragraph in my head like five
Over and over and
times
over again.
before it got to me because I was terrified and I would still fuck it up, but
I
it's all
remember
right.
one time I got called like a retard idiot by a Catholic Irish nun. And it was because I was reading out loud and I was fucking it up so bad. And it was like you, dude, because you're a kid and you're like, okay, it's a paragraph. And I'm like,
Right.
there's 4 kids ahead of me. So I'm probably gonna read one of these 2 paragraphs right here.
Yeah.
And so I'm not listening at all to any of these other kids read at all. Not even a little bit. I'm not listening to anything they're fucking saying because like when I was a kid, I had a hell of a time reading. And it was like, dude, I would just read it, and then I'd still fuck it up. Still fuck it up.
Right.
And I remember this nun, Sister Edith and Sister Marie, bless their souls, man. Like they did a lot of good stuff too, but man, they were some hard bitches. Like these women were hard as a coffin nail, dude. They were from Ireland, nuns from the state of Ireland in the United States. Like just imagine, you know what I'm saying? Very butch, very butch, very old. Both of these girls were in like 60s and 70s, you know? I was like, these women, I was like, man, these bitches have been beat on a few times, I feel like. You know what I mean? Probably
Right.
from some priests.
Yeah.
Probably from some priests. Too.
It's no
But
joke.
yeah, so we're an hour and 40 minutes in, and next week I'm gonna start focusing on the international UAP investigation a little bit. Because come to find out, there's a lot more disclosure happening in a lot of other places.
Right.
That's at a really slower pace here. And it's happening here, and I'm really happy about that. I'm not gonna fucking complain about it. Okay. I get it. And we talked before we came on this podcast. You could be a 22-year-old butter bar fucking second lieutenant in the army, and you can classify about everything,
Right.
especially if you're an officer. And then it takes basically almost an act of Congress to unclassify it, and then to even find out what it is you classified to begin with,
Right.
because it becomes so compartmentalized. And we overclassify everything. We are not an open society. We are not an open society. Our journalists are not at least podcasters are breaking that glass ceiling, you know? And
Right.
that's the reason podcasts like guys like Tucker Carlson have like 90 million and Joe Rogan like 90 million followers compared to Fox News and see it. Like you can combine everybody who follows and watches Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, the regular networks, and
Right.
combined, it won't equal Tucker
Well,
Carlson.
and
Combined.
the cool things that are happening with like the Young Turks
I love the Young
and
Turks. Yeah,
and
absolutely love them.
Kaskarian and or I messed up her name.
Shank,
And
Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur.
and Trent Huger, those
Mhm.
two, and doing crossovers with Sean Ryan and Tucker Carlson. I highly recommend anybody who gives a fuck about democracy still and is tired of fighting and just wants right thing. Go watch the Sean Ryan, Trent Kruger,
Cenk
um,
Uygur.
Trent Uger. I always fuck it up.
It's the very last episode that I think Ryan just put
Yeah,
out. Yep.
it's a good one, and that's where I pulled that Ethiopia, or not Ethiopia, Papua New Guinea, Israel thing from,
Yep.
was that podcast. But it's a real good podcast, and they talk about some of the things that we could do, whether you're left or right, that could help get our country back on the right path, you know. And
Yep.
it's a 3.5 hour podcast. It's really long. The beginning is very Iran Israel heavy, and then they kind of towards the middle start talking more about what's happening in politics now. But it's a great podcast. So
Yeah. You know what you're starting to like what you're really starting to notice with like the woke right is like Mark Levin's fucking boomer ass likes to say, or the woke Reich, as he calls it, the
right.
woke Reich, is you're getting a hell of a lot of meeting of the minds. You know what you're not getting in the establishment fucking right and the neocon right? Willingness to have conversations with people you don't agree with in any way, shape, or form. You're not getting in the progressive left, hard progressive left, willingness to have conversations with people you disagree
Right.
with. You know what you're getting with the woke right and kind of the more, I don't know what you would call what you would call the left right now when it comes
I
to
would
like
say it's
broke on a
the
left.
I would say it's a woke left. I think there's a lot of people on the left who aren't near as caught up as they start to see that some of the race and transgender stuff was used to bait us into division.
Right.
And they also see a lot of the hypocrisy. And I think things like the Second Amendment means a little bit more to them now than it ever did before with what's
Yeah.
going on with ICE and stuff. So like they're starting to opening up to loosening up some of the right wing stuff that would
Mhm.
push them away, saying like, "Oh, I understand why you guys stand on the Second Amendment now." You
Yeah.
know, like I understand. And
There's a real
so I think,
movement taking place with like the younger kind of questioning generations on the left and right both that are, I think in my lifetime this is the most I've seen conversations, like really really willing conversations, even like whenever I talked about the thing with the Charlie Kirk deal when I was doing that in front
yeah,
of the courthouse. And I saw like kind of a microcosm of that myself, where I had a lot of people that politically would have disagreed with me, 5, 10 years ago. We have it, able to have really good conversations. You know what I mean?
well, and I think the Charlie Kirk thing also woke up part of the right to realize like there is a weird undertow, whether it's the Israel connection, whether it's the like with the Nick Fuentes Groper faction,
Yeah.
like the right has gone so far right, they almost
Mhm.
have gone left with some of how they view homosexuality and
Yeah,
stuff, you
especially
know, like
the social gen, like,
yeah,
that's a very libertarian, like, what's the definition of a libertarian? Fiscally conservative, socially liberal. Fiscally conservative,
right,
socially liberal. I mean, that's like your book, easy without getting like into the meat and potatoes, right? Definition of what a libertarian is. And you're seeing that like all these people like the Tucker Carlsons, the Megan Kellys, like the real predominant people, the Candace Owens is like you're getting more and more news journalist people on the right that are starting to push over to that.
right,
And whether they know it or not, they're having very, very libertarian outcomes. Whether they're
right.
willing to say they're libertarian or not, but it's like I like to see that. I think the Libertarian Party is growing a lot on the left and the right. And man, it would be
Well,
great to have a really viable third or fourth part, like at least
this
third party. But
this is the first time in American history that there are more independent voters than Democrats or Republicans ever. So
yeah, and it's like Sean
the
Daly
time
said,
is
right?
now.
You almost
Yeah,
have to kill in the United States. We had Sean Daly on, professor from the University of Montana, Western. Just his academic pedigree is legendary within Montana, the community of Montana. Outstandingly intelligent human being. But he made some good points, basically saying that in the United States of America, the way that our system runs is you have to have one party die before another one can. Like you can't. It's kind of you have
yeah,
to replace one with one. You know what I mean? Like you're
yeah.
not going to get a growth of a third or of a legitimate third or fourth party with the way money is and politics is right now and how it's made. It's
Well,
almost like you have to have a party die and then something take its place
and
immediately.
how we do that is we start looking at these people who they're taking money from, and we say if you're taking money from these people, we're not going to vote you in.
Mhm.
and that's how we do it because that's on the left and right. Then you clean up
Yeah.
the politics, and and then too, there's ways to like Citizens United enabled lobbying to the nth degree. And when you talk to people on either side when it comes to the voters, we agree mostly on keeping fucking Israel out of our politics and keeping money out of our politics in general. And there's
Yep.
ways that you could, if we had 75% of the states signed a petition and said that they wanted that done, then there's a ways that we could change that amendment, but you need 75% of the senators to do it. So
Yep.
as a populace, we need to stop voting for these people who are taking money so something like that actually happens,
Mhm.
because every major senator is taking massive amount of money from whether it's Israel or some corporation or some private donor who's a CEO of a corporation.
You know who's
And that's what's
getting
killing us.
Yeah, you know who's getting a lot of, I guess momentum's a good word for it, is the guy running against Randy Fine, Dan Blazarian. You know who Dan Blazarian is, right?
Yeah.
He's a
He,
social media figure.
yeah.
He's known to be a playboy in a way. He's like 40
Yeah.
years old, kind of a bigger guy with a big beard. He's been very outspoken with Israel since the Gaza thing. Very, very, very outspoken and good on him. He had the courage to say what a lot of people didn't have the courage to say early.
He
You know
could
what I mean?
he could come off a little abrasive.
Oh,
I don't
100%. 100%. But what I'm saying
yeah.
is like it's like it's even though in Florida, which is like a retirement place, like an older people place, more of a conservative state, like he has a legitimate shot at ousting
Right.
Randy Fine, who is an American Jewish individual who is
Right.
not an America First person at all. He is a advocate of Israel and Israel almost exclusively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has the Israeli flag in his fucking background and his bio and his on his lapel pins outside of his office, like over the American flag in a lot of ways. But it just kind of tells you where we're at with the society, right? Where
Right.
you could have a guy like Dan Blazarian, who in a lot of worlds is like considered to be kind of just a joke or a playboy,
Right.
be able to compete against a legitimate political figurehead in an industry that has a ton of money coming from Israel, right? And the Jewish communities, um, not so much the Jewish communities, definitely like more, I'd say more of the Israeli state run communities, you
Yeah.
know? But it's like the fact that he's competitive and not just competitive, but might end up. Could you imagine seeing Dan Blazarian on the fucking floor of the House giving a
Right.
speech? I would pay fuck yes. Fuck yes. Cause that guy, he's going to get up there, not shaved, in his normal shit that he wears, and he's going to tell
Right.
everybody in there to go fuck themselves. Every single person in there. He will have no problem doing that. And we need more of that. Whether or not he
Right.
has fucking, too much masculinity or whatever the fuck, whatever, fine. But it's like we need people that have that kind of courage to stand up, especially to the Israel lobby.
Platner in Maine. He's the guy from the left. He's a veteran. Did tours on Iraq. I mean, looks like you, just a little thicker, beard,
Eh,
fucking. But
poor
he's
looking,
another
poor
dude
son
from
of a
the
bitch.
yeah, right. He's another dude from the left that's taken on the establishment and Susan Collins. He's done it with all donors from like grassroots things.
Uh,
He beat the incumbent Democrat who was supposed to run against Susan Collins out, who had almost 10 million more dollars in funding.
dude,
So
you know what's driving me crazy, bro? Is like if on the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, because there is an opportunity right now on the
yeah,
Democratic Party. I mean, a massive opportunity for people to backfill. And like there is a huge void right now that's taking place. And the establishment Democrats cannot get out of their own goddamn
no,
way to save their fucking
they did
lives.
they did polls of incumbents, and I think this one was on CNN, and it had 24 people who could run for president. Almost all of them took APAC money, and know who wasn't on the list?
Hmm.
Ro Khanna.
Yeah.
And he
It's too bad he's foreign
absolutely should
born,
be on the
man.
list.
I would vote for
Yep.
him for president over fucking JD Vance. Why would I trust JD
Yep.
Vance? Why in the fuck? would I trust JD Vance after this shit? Like, I'm not
Yep.
I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat anymore. It's like that means the parties mean nothing to me. I'll vote for a Democrat. I have no problem voting for a Democrat if it's
Right.
somebody like Rokana, even though he can't run for fucking president because he's foreign
Right.
born, you know? But it's like, I'm about principles, dude. I'm done with this right, left, Republican, Democrat crap. And the Democratic Party, dude, it's like this is a missed opportunity, man. They need to
Well,
embrace the younger generation of the younger political generation, like that 22-year-old kid, right? Who
yeah.
debates on CNN Scott Jennings and holds his own. He's 22 years old, like a YouTube kid, and gets on there. And Scott Jennings is, war hawk. And this kid was when he was like 2 years old. Scott Jennings was talking about how good the Iraq War was and how important it was for the United States to fight it. And here we are fighting
Right.
Iran, and this kid's 22 years old now, sitting on the exact same panel as Scott Jennings, listening to Scott Jennings talk about how necessary this war is in Iran. And it's like all
Right.
this kid's just like, all I've ever heard you say in my entire fucking life is about how necessary all these wars are.
Right.
And we find out every single time that they're bullshit. And here we are again on this panel, and you're saying the same shit again and not confirming that it's for Israel, even though we all fucking know it's for Israel. And the administration even admitted it early on. It's like it's like when the army redacted the flying disc statement, right? In
Yeah.
1949. It's like you were kind of honest for a second. You're kind of honest for a second. It's like Marco Rubio, and he was like, well, we weren't going to do this, but Israel was going to do it, and we had to do it because they were doing it. And it's like, yeah, you were kind
Right.
of honest for a second. I'm not going to take your redaction, bro. Like,
No.
you said what you meant, and then you got caught. You know what I mean?
And this cabinet has said more shit and has backstepped on it, moved the line more than I could ever remember any other cabinet in a
Mhm.
year's times, whether it's been from the DOJ, the Department of War, whether it's been the president himself. They
Dude,
say
even Rand
something and 3 days later they do something different.
exactly. Even Rand Paul, man, could not get off the Israel tip. Rand Paul, who's one
Yeah.
of the most, his dad's the godfather of the Libertarian Party. Like, literally like a god in the
Yeah.
libertarian movement. You know what I mean? A god. And Rand Paul would not end this shipment. Remember the bulldozers? Those stupid
Yep.
armored bulldozers for the settlers? 25,000 missiles or whatever to Israel, and he voted for it. Rand
Well,
Paul
and
fucking voted for it. And while at the same time he comes out and says, we need to be more fiscally responsible here at home and
yeah.
all this and that. And I'm like, dude, when you listen to Rand Paul's interviews about Israel, when Israel comes up, one thing I'm starting to notice about him, which just kind of sucks, but it's true, is he gets real touchy with Israel. He gets really
Yeah.
like he's not sure. It seems like he sees where the winds are blowing because for the first time in the history of the United States of America in history, Israel's underwater. There's more support for a Palestinian state and Palestinian people today in the United States
Right.
than there is for the state of Israel. There's more support for the Palestinians and a Palestinian state than there is for the state of Israel in the United States today. So like the winds of change are here, bro. Democrats, get your fucking heads out of your asses and embrace it and push forward. You like
Well,
I don't know what you're
the
doing.
problem with it's the same thing with the RNC. Once the establishment picks a person, like they're going to run with it. And
Mhm.
Bernie Sanders was totally against the establishment. Bernie Sanders is an American-born Jew who's voted against sending money to Israel for the last fucking 8 years. He also was the one who wrote started the no, we don't want to ship Israel fucking bulldozers and stuff, and then people are calling him an anti-Semite. He's a fucking American-born Jew.
Yeah, it's like
It's
Dave Smith. Dave Smith's
yeah,
out. He's Jewish, and you have people that are like atheist or Christian calling him an anti-Semite.
yeah, it's
Okay, bro.
crazy.
Fucking love this shit. Hey man, we're an hour and 55 minutes in. I gotta edit this shit and
Yeah,
get it out, homie. You know
get
what I'm
it out.
saying? We can play fuck games
Um,
all day. I could have this conversation.
Real quick, next week I want to do a little more in-depth thing of the tick conversation. I had a bunch of research and mysteriously I can't find the Word document that fucking it was on, so I don't know if that's
Gone
Google getting
forever.
into my yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, we'll have some more on that as well.
Yeah,
But
I think we're getting some. I've had some people ask me some questions about the tick stuff because it's so gross. And then
well,
there's another outbreak or something. We'll get into more of that. I think we should. I think we can
I
put
was I
all
was
that
gonna
together.
do kind of tick and bioweapon
Yeah,
stuff, and
there's a
whether
lot
it's
of
some of
history on that
yeah, and that's kind of what I
from
had
the American
compiled in
government
it.
doing
Yeah.
on the American people. I mean, forget about what we
So
do to foreign people. Fuck. I mean,
yeah.
you could just see what the government's willing to do to our own people. You know for a fact what they're willing to do to people in other countries. Jesus. So, all right, brother. Love you, man. I hope
Yeah.
you have a good freaking Saturday, dude.
Yeah, you too, man. Take it
All
easy,
right, brother. We'll talk.
guys. Love you, brother. Take it.